Hey, IDS 301. Welcome to Module 5 already. Wow, just flying, huh? Um, it is, what is it, September 25th, Friday. Um, let's get right into it. As far as the maps goes, I've started the scoring, but you're going to have to give me till tomorrow because I do, believe it or not, read them all. And you'll tell if I get really picky. I'm sorry, but I think I warned you. Again, if you have any questions, concerns, shoot me an email. You can set up a call or a Zoom and we can discuss why I scored what the way I did. You can tell me why you think the score should be different, perhaps, and we'll go from there, okay? Let's see. Okay, so uh, Module 5. Well, I noticed on these modules, because like I said, my colleague, Dr. Prisdia, I yawn every time I'm on screen. Zoom, anything, I just yawn. I don't know what. It's the same if I'm sitting on the other side of this, if I'm in a meeting, I'm yawning. It's too old to change, I tell you. Um, Dr. Prisdia and I put this course together, conceptually detailed, worked on the quizzes together, did a lot. But Dr. P did a lot of the introductory writing because he does not teach like I do on video more. He stays off of video as most do. I prefer the video. So typically I'm getting more in depth on things on video, but because there's so much depth here, I'm just going to ask you that you make sure you go through this. Um, if any of you are in my 302, this learning materials, well, actually, I should go to the overview first, shouldn't I? Let me look, because the overview, I think, is what I'm talking about here more, uh, where it's going to be pretty comprehensive, that you can see what's expected as we saw in all modules. But of course, take a look at it. And then the learning materials come into play. And there's a number of attachments, downloads, links. Very important to go through these. As you get into a foundational hardwiring of IDS. Um, chapters 9, 10, 11 in Tanner, a lot of ground is covered, but it's not a lot of pages. But he does talk a lot about interdisciplinary priorities. Very important to know that. And obviously, this course, the quizzes reflect a lot on Tanner. Then you also have Benson and Newell's articles. Benson took the devil's advocate position of 5 arguments against interdisciplinary studies. Now, Benson is an interdisciplinary studies guy, so advocate, so he's doing the devil's advocate and picking out 5 arguments about why it's, what do we have to look for? Why is it negativity? Bill Newell, who founded the Association of Interdisciplinary Studies, he responded back a case for interdisciplinary studies, a response to Professor Benson's 5 arguments. So it was a friendly type of debate that they put together, but it identified some issues. And it goes back, these go back to 82, 83. I was still older than you back then, most of you, some of you not, but you know who you are. Okay, the interview with Michael Prisdia talks with a former student. That's a good one. Dr. Prisdia, we're using that because he talks about the state of interdisciplinary studies today, and he introduces some concepts that may be new to you, but again, gives you more in your tool chest to be proud of the field you've chosen and why it's important, right? Then there's David Bohm on communication. It's a short chapter from a book. Dr. Prisdia is a David Bohm expert, okay? In fact, over the last Christmas holiday last year, I drove to Wisconsin, where I'm from. It was nice to be able to drive up there and then go to Madison to a storage unit that was kind of discovered with a lot of materials from someone who knew someone at work. It was just really interesting. Uh, Dr. Prasdia is very looks at David Bohm with a lot of admiration and academic expertise. So there is supplemental material. Now, what he means by that, what I mean by that too, because of my course, is that um, it's not required. It's not going to be in the quiz, but boy, it's good stuff. In fact, if you're in my 302, you're going to have to look at all these. So they're good. The Barker, Gilbreth, and Stone, the interdisciplinary needs of organizations. How many of you are in organizational leadership and roles like that? This is a great article, okay? Examining the skills, of contemporary leaders. Zimdar is the world of cross-functional teams. Again, these are very applicable to many of you in your careers. And so important to take a look at. Newell's, the state of the field, interdisciplinary theory, is almost like Bill Newell's, pièce de résistance. No, I don't know what they call that. But it was a culmination of what he sees as the field itself. And it's a very interesting read to have it. Download these and save them at least, okay? The Association for Interdisciplinary Studies, which I've talked about, this is a link to the website. I'm a member of that, and certainly it's any academic can join it. I joined it as a student. Just a good feeling of collegiality to be part of that. The Alpha Iota Sigma, that's something fairly new in the last few years. It's an ASU chapter of the National Honor Society of Interdisciplinary Studies. You might want to take a look at that. Is it linked? No, it is not. I'll try to find it and link it if it is, okay? If not, and you were interested, please ask your advisor, okay? But I'll try to find it. Then there's International Network for Science of Team Science. That's an interesting one, and ASU does have a great presence in that with uh, Andy Hess. She's part of I think, the leadership team over there. Okay, so I just want to give you a brief emphasis on those readings because you don't get too far without it. Consequently, let's say that Easter egg number one is do the readings. Okay, read the readings, do the readings. What sounds better to you? I don't know. You tell me. But that's EE number one. Now let's take a look at. Then you got the two discussion boards, 5.1, 5.2. 5.1 is going to require responses to your peers. 5.1 to 5.2 does not. Both should have word minimums. Please hit that. Okay, and so the IDS debate that we're going to do in DB1 is reflective of that Newell and Benson's articles on the five cases against and then his rebuttal. Now, also, I'd like you to take a look at the scenario. Yeah, the scenario is Acme University, blah, blah, blah. Okay, it's pretty self-explanatory, but there's 3 links there. A controversial article, a rebuttal, and an alumni response. What those show, getting old, but still appropriate. There was a controversial article in Arizona Central, the newspaper at the time, and rudimentary website that they had, where a instructor, professor from ASU wrote about how he felt that the BIS degree at the time, Bachelor of Interdisciplinary Studies, was very weak. It also was a 3-year program at the time, so there may have been some ammunition there, but it was very essentially weak. A provost or dean responded, and they posted that article about how she responded and rebut his argument. And then an alumni responded with another brief letter. These are all fairly brief, kind of like letters to the editors. That's what we used to do in the old days, okay? And then read that about, to be fair to Dr. Kostelich, he did write a humble and sincere apology to the LIS faculty and students, okay, blah, blah, blah. So, but these are things you'll run into as an IDS student, whether they're from family or employers or future employers or whatever. And if you can be ready to, have a rebuttal ready in a professional way, you're going to come out, looking sparkling spectacular, right? Okay, so number 2, DB number 2, 5.2, is about that David Bohm paper. Why am I not shaking this thing around? Sorry about that. Earthquake. It's David Bohm. It's about the on communication, which is about 4 pages. Tiny print though. And I'm going to ask you to consider some of the things that Dr. Bohm has discussed here in terms of dialogue and listening with awareness. The instructions on here are fairly comprehensive. That's like the academic way of saying they're long. But uh, I think it's very important to consider these concepts and the way we look at things and listen. And it's very important. I should do well with that. Um, the discussion board 5.1 is due on the 27th. Oh my God, that's in 2 days. And then on communications due the 29th. Would it be okay if I change that first one to be due the 28th? Oh, you don't want it? You want me to leave it the 27th? I'll change it to the 28th, but just be conscious that you've got back-to-back due dates. You know the late policy. Okay. But I'll change that to the fact, I'll change it right now so I don't forget. I always forget otherwise. And then we will, is this 5.2? Doggone it, I want to change 5.1. I'm sorry. So let's do this. So other than that, let's see, it's cooling down in Phoenix. Some of you are lucky to be in other parts of the country. Hopefully the COVID is dying out a little bit, but that's not true. Okay, so I'm going to change this to September 28th. Bear with me a second. Obviously, it gives you the extra day to the 28th, and then you have until the 3rd with 25% off. Okay, so now let's go to, there's a quiz, and that's due the 30th. So basically, you got a 28th, 29th, 30th for due dates. Obviously, you don't have to follow them perfectly, whatever works. Do them all on the 27th or 28th. Do them all 30th, take the hit. It's up to you. A quiz is the same as it was. There's nothing different about it. It's all the same stuff. Okay, let's get into Easter egg number 2, and I want to refer back to the discussion boards, and most everyone is doing this, but I want to remind you to use paragraph breaks. Okay, paragraph breaks. I will ding you if it's one long post. It's almost unreadable. And in the discussion board, you should go look at other people who might do that and say, do you want to read this? And are you going to piece through it, especially if there's numbered criteria? Now, in this discussion board number 1, there is, a couple of different, there's a scenario, the debate question, and let's see. I'm going to make sure, I'll double check to make sure this is readable, understandable, and if it's not, I'll try to fix it. And if you don't think it is, let me know. Someone already posted one, so it looks like it is. But either use a paragraph break of an extra line or indent it. Okay, whatever works. But Easter egg number 2 is paragraph breaks. Okay. Now there is a final assignment here due October 2nd, which is the last day of the module. Correct? Yeah, that has to be. Now I get the hiccups. Great. And that is your personal narrative. It's a good piece, I think, for students in a sense that you get to write about yourself again. So how can you get that wrong, right? But you can. But I mean, you're writing about yourself. I'm not going to dispute what you tell me. But it is important that you look at this and you follow the instructions. And there is a rubric here. And by the way, speaking of rubrics, take a look at this. And then there's a rubric for the maps that I'm using, but I'm not going to post the rubric to your score. If you have questions about why I score a certain way, let me know. And I'll talk to you. I'll definitely let you know how I broke it down. But I do refer to the rubric when I score your maps or score this one. I just don't copy and paste it all anywhere. Okay? But I will tell you one thing. 99% of the time, you're getting more points than if I really strictly go off the rubric. I'm always a little easier on those. So, but just let me know. I do use the rubric. Follow the rubrics. That means that makes sure you cover things, but know that I'll use the rubric, but you're not going to see it, but you can definitely contact me and we'll talk about it or I'll send it to you, okay? I will talk more about this paper because it's an important one. We're 75 points. Personally, I think it should be worth 100, but it's a nice chunk of paper. I'll talk about more about it in the Module 5 second video. And I think that'll be helpful to give a good 10 minutes on what I expect there. If you want to go ahead and do it, that's all fine with me. I'm really not going to add a whole bunch, but I may clear some things up. If you do get a chance to look at it and have questions, send them to me before that. That's fine also. And I think that's about it. Then you got your Module 5 reflection, and then we're coming down home street to get to the end of the course, which ends October 9th. Do not try to submit anything after that, okay? Let's do a third Easter egg. Speaking of, oh, by the way, you should start getting emails from ASU to do the course evaluation. It's imperative that you cooperate and do it. It's anonymous, okay? I don't see them till probably 2 weeks after grades are in, and they get reviewed by the dean and his office. They're very helpful, especially in a course like this that we've just developed and kicked off in 2020, and to get some idea, because I got some ideas to change things that you didn't see based on what spring was like, spring A. Now, fall A, I want to see what you think. I'm not going to lean either way. I know what this course is, but I want to hear it from you. So please do the course evaluation, okay? Between now and I'll keep on you in the next 3 videos that I do, Module 5 Video 2, Module 6 1 and 2, I'll be reminding you. I do see how many students submit theirs, and typically I got to beg. And then the more I beg, the worse the evaluations get. It's true, because, most people who dislike it go, the hell with it. Some people really like, it's revenge time. Others are like, hey, it's something pleasant, I'm going to fill it out. There's a easy way to do it. You don't have to write a lot of comments. You don't have to write any comments if you don't want to. Okay, there are comment boxes. There's also a numbered survey that you get to give me an idea, okay, about things. And I appreciate it. Easter egg number 3, important, I just talked about. 2 weeks to go. 2 weeks from today, this course ends. October 9th, and there ain't no going back. At midnight, I turn into a rat, and my Jeep turns into a pumpkin. It's pretty sad, but that's what happens at midnight. So 11:59 or before, don't delay. Forks up, everybody. Peace. Have a great weekend.